Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. The start of the climax began at the very end of last episode. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the culminating insanity that occurs from such an ambush. We also get to learn a bit more clarity on some history that is different from canon, so keep your ears perked for that. We've discovered not just the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, but that they've decided to join the Akatsuki for one reason or another. I didn't show their faces in the last episode because I didn't have time to make a transparent picture of each of them, but they're all canon characters. Since I meant to show their faces last time, I'll list now for those interested who makes up the Seven Swordsmen. We have Genin Akabino wielding the Kabuto Wari, a massive pair of hammer and axe. Next is Jinpachi Munashi with Shibuki, a rather unique sword that explodes whatever he hits with it. Of course, we've got Zabuza Momochi with his famous claymore, whose name I'm bound to butcher, but here goes anyway. Kubikiribocho? Easier in English as the executioner's blade. This blade, of course, drinks blood and can repair itself via violence. As you've probably guessed, Kisame Hojigaki is right at home in this strange union of Akatsuki and Seven Swordsmen, and of course wielding the Samehara, shark skin greatsword. And just to remind any sleepers in the audience, Samehara is a living blade that is drawn to and eats people's chakra. Kushimaru Kuriare with the ever distinct longsword Nuibari. This guy might be my favorite aesthetically, but I won't be playing favorites in the rewrite. I'll try not to. Mangetsu Hozuki is alive and well, and as a master of all the blades, it doesn't really matter what he has. In this case, and I recognize this might upset some, but Mangetsu wields the Totsuka blade. This blade is drawn from a sake jar and is formed from the liquid inside the jar. Just in case you don't think you know what this is, it's the sword that Itachi Susano wields in canon. It's depicted and described as an ethereal blade, but why then would Orochimaru seek it out if he couldn't wield it? For the sake of its threat, if a human holds it, it takes on a physical form. And finally, the seventh, who received the Kiba blades, will remain a mystery for now, though I expect that some will instantly know who it is based on how I described them last episode. What an info dump! Let's get into the episode, shall we? Amidst the suffocating smoke and failing foundation, Inoichi finally breaks through some rubble and staggers into the main detention hall. Prisoners on either side scream for help, but Inoichi is on limited time, and his most immediate priority is searching for Ibiki. They were standing right next to each other when the explosion hit. The fire is growing fast, and Inoichi cannot last much longer himself without some clean air. To think that the prisoner himself was a bomb, whether he had the explosives inside him this whole time, or knowingly initiated some sort of jutsu activation, was all Inoichi could spare thoughts for at the moment. The prisoner was interrogated into torture for months. Why did the explosion not occur earlier? Inoichi knew the Anbu would be descending on the area for damage control and to prevent prisoner escapees from running away. Therefore, his only priority in the now was finding Ibiki and getting out. Shuffling amongst the debris, someone catches Inoichi's eye as he turns to face the old man. "This is how you brats treat a village elder?" Danzo asks him, rubbing his back uncomfortably. The explosion must have freed him from his prison. Left with few options, Inoichi guides Danzo to the exit where some present Anbu take custody. Danzo tells them he's a little out of shape, but he can still help protect the village. Inoichi gives him a second glance, thinking to himself that even he didn't know the village was under attack. But the Anbu confirm that the chunin exams had an assault taking place at the moment, but the Sannin are handling it themselves. Lord Hokage has exited the stadium in pursuit of this attack's perpetrator, who has ascended the Kage faces. Looking to the top of the cliffs, Inoichi feels a jolt of fear for his daughter. Conflicted between helping Ino, who he knows is up there, or returning his search for Ibiki, Inoichi struggles with momentary indecision. Shaking his head, he rationalizes that she needs to be there for Shikamaru, just in case, and Shikaku is up there anyway. Weaving several signs without permission, Danzo summons crashing waves that disperse the flames at the detention center. He follows this up by raising several earthen columns to reinforce the weakened structure of the building. Breathing heavily, he remarks that he's so much weaker than he used to be, but perhaps being crammed inside a cage like a vermin would do that to you. Turning to the Anbu, Danzo tells them that he can sense the chakra of the invader, remarking that it's an Uchiha. Again, Inoichi looks at Danzo in puzzlement. Danzo does not have sensor abilities. In reply, Inoichi tells Danzo that ninja clearly aren't as stupid as they were when he was at his most powerful. He tells the Anbu that Danzo is not a censor, and knowing who the intruder is indicates that he has some involvement with the invasion himself. Inoichi tells Danzo that he's grown mighty dull in his old age. Given his reputation, it's smartest to get several more Anbu to guard Danzo until they can get him behind bars again. As Inoichi gives the orders, it occurs to him that Danzo's restraints were removed from the moment he first saw him. Did someone help him escape in the chaos? Glancing between the Anbu present, Inoichi draws a kunai and tells them to remove their masks. Within the stadium, the swordsmen are gearing up for a mighty, bloody battle with the Sannin. The Raikage steps forward with Darui, telling the Sannin that they're free to kill as many of the swordsmen as they can, but whatever weapons are pillaged will be split evenly. Charging his body with a full cloak of electricity, A dives into the group of swordsmen fearlessly. Though all are shocked by the solo charge, it's Jinpachi Munashi who takes the assault head-on, as both he and the Raikage are bathed in a sequence of constant explosions. His blast sword Shibuki forces friend and foe alike to give him space as smoke bathes him and the Raikage. Through the explosions, everyone hears the sinister laughter of Jinpachi as he mocks A's allowance for the Sannin to kill them all. He remarks that they survived the 8th gate easily enough. What could even a Kage do at this point? Landing to aid, Might Guy arrives. This gives pause to all the swordsmen as they mistake Guy for his father Dai. He tells them they're the reason his father is no more, and though he's not normally a vengeful guy, exceptions can always be made. Kasame laughs and gives Guy's dad credit for taking some of them out, but where one falls, another will always replace. But even this attempted show of force with the Sannin and Kage won't be enough to take them out. Not wanting to mince words with his dad's killers, Guy launches straight into the 6th gate and dives to meet Kasame head-on. As the elites of both sides clash in the stadium, Asuma and Kurenai land at the losers' stands and instruct the present Genin to assist in the evacuation of the citizens with the chunin. After issuing their orders, both jonin leave, but the Genin have already been planning something else. Omoi, still injured, is released from the medical room so that he may also evacuate, but the first thing he notices when he enters the room are the Kiba blades missing from Tenten. She points down at the young man in the stadium and explains to Omoi what's happened. Shaking his head, he tells them that they need to retrieve those swords. She didn't lose them in a proper match, so it was dishonorable to try to steal them. Interrupted by the thunderous roaring of A as he wreaks havoc, draws Omoi's attention. As they gaze down, A's lightning is complemented with the addition of Darwi's black lightning flashing through the rising smokescreen. Chuckling softly at his own Kage's involvement, Omoi confirms that if they're to retrieve the Kiba blades, it'll be while the bulk of the swordsmen are distracted. Sakura points out that of the combatants fighting below, 2 had left at some point. Currently in the stadium are Tsunade, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Might Guy, the Raikage, and Darui fighting against 6 of the swordsmen. Meanwhile, the Kaze Kage is currently distracted by Gaara's violent transformation, which seems to have slowed down. And Lord Fourth has left, seemingly to chase after that Shisui guy and the white-haired fellow with the Kiba blades that went with him. Turning to Sasuke, Sakura asks if he knows who Shisui is. "He was in the Anbu with my brother," Sasuke mutters, who only seems to be paying half attention to the Genin meddling. Snapping his attention to Tenten, Sasuke volunteers his services to get the swords back. Sakura furrows her brows as she looks at the distance in Sasuke's eyes. The sudden appearance of another living Uchiha has entirely distracted him. Refusing, Sakura tells him that she'll go in his place, because if he can't focus, then he could risk death or getting his team killed. Shaking his head, Sasuke reassures her that he won't let his guard down. It's too important to him to get answers from Shisui about the massacre to let himself fall in battle now. Rock Lee's offended on behalf of their teachers that the others are even suggesting refusing their evacuation orders. They're the losers of the competition. They're all injured or tired, and this ambush of enemies that can stand even with Sannin or Kage will squash Genin. Omoi argues that number can overwhelm a difference in skill. Swords stabbing from 7 directions aren't completely blockable by one person. Rock Lee tells Omoi that's an unrealistic expectation, but Omoi defends it as a proverb of his village. Even the greatest warrior will have a chink somewhere in their armor. Insisting that they help evacuation, Rock Lee refuses to go along with their plans. Shino is also pretty beat up from his match and has lost most of his bugs from the battle with Gaara. He won't do as an effective assist in battle, so he tells them that he'll help with evacuations as well. Thus they agree to go their separate ways. Sasuke, Sakura, Omoi, and Tenten will follow after Lord Fourth to regain control of the Kiba blades. Shino and Rock Lee will remain behind and fulfill the orders given to them. Secretly, Rock Lee also wishes to observe and learn all he can from Might Guy's fighting, as he will rarely get the chance to see his sensei go all out. Upon the Kage heads, Naruto is still rolling in agony as the fox creeps ever closer to the surface. Shikaku has taken control of Naruto's body with shadow paralysis, but he hasn't had to deal with the fox in some time, and all the beasts react differently. Straining, his shadowy tendrils act as a false shield over the seal to prevent it from weakening or loosening. But the Nara clan aren't meant as a preventative measure, but more as a relinquishing power. They're usually meant to step in only after the beast has shown itself and assist in closing the seal. They're only meant to shut the door, not lock it. Naruto knows the fox is just below the surface, like the feeling just before throwing up. If he lets up for even a second, the fox will break out. But along with the fox's fury, he can hear its thoughts. With Gaara's tailed beast also so close to release, perhaps it's the fox's desire to fight it. Naruto can't even spare words in thought to communicate with the fox, as he's entirely focused on keeping it repressed. Shikaku notes to the other 3 watching that they should pay careful attention to how Naruto's fighting the fox. It's not every day a Jinchuriki gets to see another Jinchuriki struggling to maintain control like this. The fox suddenly stops raging against its walls, and Naruto experiences a relieving respite. Still held by Shikaku, Naruto wonders why the fox decided to stop fighting. "They're lying to you!" The fox's screams reverberates into Naruto's skull before trying even harder to escape. Writhing in effort, pain, and turmoil, Naruto begins to overpower the shadow paralysis as some of the fox's chakra begins seeping out. Shikaku tells Shikamaru to come help, but Shikamaru hesitates, wondering if that's at all a good idea given the circumstances. His father reminds him that if one-tailed beast gets out right now, the other will anyway. Swallowing hard and taking a deep breath, Shikamaru inches towards Naruto and uses his shadows to strengthen his father's. After several more long minutes, the fox's rage simmers and Naruto finds peace at last. Tucking into a ball and hugging his knees, Naruto shudders out several uncertain breaths. It takes a few more moments before he uncurls and sits up on his own. Shikaku compliments Naruto for maintaining control, but it's not time to relax yet. He needs details on what happened at the chunin exams, and Naruto explains all that he can. Minato didn't spare any time other than a knowing nod to Shikaku when he flashed Naruto to the location before returning to the chunin exams. Looking at the clouds slowly gliding by overhead, unperturbed by the attack on the village below, Shikaku stands and mobilizes the Genin. He tells them that they need to get a move on, just in case the attackers are targeting Naruto. At the start of the ambush and the reveal of Shisui's identity, Minato squeezed ever tighter on the Uchiha's cloak. Sneering at the Hokage, Shisui leaned in and whispered, "I know about the three tails." He had used the body flicker to escape Minato's grasp, followed by an immediate retreat from the stadium. As he ran past the seven swordsmen, he also grabbed the younger one and pulled him to come with him. Minato watched him run off and turned to look at the others around him. The swordsmen were on guard, wary of him, while the Sannin stood now on their flank, bristling with the excitement of a challenge. Sighing at the ruined day, Minato vanished from the arena. Throughout Konoha, Minato has set up various marked points where he has placed his Hiraishin kunai. Each of the major clans had a kunai. Even the Uchiha who detested him kept one on their premises. He also kept one at the Ninja Academy, at the hospital, at the Hokage heads, and at every major population center and even restaurant. Minato also kept one at every major vantage point and intersection in the village. Naruto himself had the mark permanently placed on his right shoulder when he was younger, so Minato could reach him at any given moment. A mark in this way wasn't normally possible, but as father and son, it seemed to retain a compatibility between them. Sasuke also always carried a scroll of the mark that's upkept as necessary as well. No matter where Shisui runs to in the village, the various points in the village combined with his sensory ability gives Minato an automatic advantage. The body flicker was the poor man's Hiraishin, and no matter how good Shisui was with it, Minato had him beat. Appearing first atop the stadium, Minato realizes Shisui has already vanished, though Minato can still sense him moving at a high speed towards the Kage heads. Seems he wasn't bluffing on the Sanbi. He looks off to the side where smoke rises from the detention center, distinctly sensing Danzo released from his sealed prison. One problem at a time, though, and the Jinchuriki were far more important even than Danzo's potential freedom. Looking back at the swordsman clashing with the Leaf and Cloud Elite, Minato wonders whether he'll be able to stop himself from killing Shisui. And that's the end of today's episode. I wasn't kidding. This is all the calm before the storm. I could have portioned it out so that we dealt with the stadium chaos for a few episodes, and then dealt with the Genin side quest for a few episodes, etc. However, invariably, some of these plotlines are going to intersect. The launching point then should include all of them, if even slightly. I've also stated before that the Kage need to feel like Kage, and I had a few comments recently that had false assumptions. So this is just a friendly reminder that power scales far more distinctly in my rewrite. This is to prevent Hashirama scale ninja on the high end, but also to provide clear gaps of power between ranked ninja. The only rank of ninja that are hard to scale are the Sannin. They're clearly stronger than Anbu, but they're also weaker than Kage, generally speaking. But a general rule of thumb is that Kage are all strong. We can make assumptions like, because Unoki is so old, he's probably weaker than the other Kage. But they all have their feats, and they're all very strong. Even if the statement, Minato is stronger than Unoki, is true, that doesn't mean Minato could easily win in a duel. Being strong enough to reach the level of Kage is to be in the top 1% of all ninja. A good example of this power scaling as well is Might Dai. He sacrificed his life so that Might Guy and his squad could escape certain doom. But in my rewrite, Dai couldn't beat all the swordsmen even with the 8th gate. I recognize that could diminish the 8th gate's power, so let me also reiterate that all of the villains are stronger in canon. All of them. Even the comparatively weak villains like the Sound 4 would be stronger than their canon counterparts. Anyway, enough of this for now. I'll see everyone in the next exciting episode of this Naruto rewrite. The sky's the limit.